Hello there, history buffs and economics enthusiasts. Buckle up as we take a wild ride through Portugal's economic roller coaster, from ancient times to the age of the internet. It's a story filled with more twists and turns than a plate of Portuguese custard tarts, so hold on tight. Our journey begins in a time before iPhones, before Netflix, before we even had decent plumbing. I'm talking about ancient Portugal, a land coveted by everyone from the Phoenicians to the Romans. Portugal had something everyone craved: strategic location, fertile land, and shiny minerals. The Phoenicians recognized Portugal's potential as a trading hub. They set up shop along the coast, exchanging goods and spreading their culture. Then came the Romans, who loved to conquer and tax. They transformed Portugal into a vital agricultural center. Life under Roman rule wasn't all bad, especially if you were a fan of aqueducts. But good times, like cheap flights, never last. The Roman Empire eventually crumbled, leaving Portugal to fend for itself. It was a bit of a free-for-all for a while, with various Germanic tribes vying for control. But through it all, the Portuguese spirit and their knack for making a buck shined through. Fast forward a few centuries and we find Portugal in the throes of the Middle Ages. Feudalism was all the rage, with lords and vassals locked in a complex dance of obligation and, let's be honest, occasional backstabbing. The economy was largely agrarian, with most people toiling the land to grow crops like wheat, grapes, and olives. It wasn't exactly the Silicon Valley of its time, but hey, they had castles. But amidst the feudal fields and nightly squabbles, a spirit of adventure was brewing. Portugal, perched precariously on the edge of the known world, couldn't help but gaze out at the vast Atlantic Ocean and wonder, what's out there? Little did they know, they were about to find out in a big, world-changing way. Now let's talk about a guy named Prince Henry the Navigator. No, he wasn't delivering singing telegrams. This prince was obsessed with exploration, pouring his considerable wealth and, let's be honest, other people's money, into building ships and funding expeditions. And boy did it pay off. Portuguese explorers, armed with compasses, astrolabes, and a thirst for adventure and spices, set sail into the unknown. They hugged the coast of Africa, established trading posts, and brought back exotic goods like pepper, cinnamon, and silk. It was like Amazon Prime for spices, but with more scurvy and the occasional pirate attack. This age of exploration wasn't just about satisfying Europe's craving for exotic flavors. It transformed Portugal into a global trading powerhouse, its ships laden with riches from far-off lands. Lisbon became a bustling hub of commerce, its streets thronged with merchants, sailors, and adventurers from all corners of the globe. For a time, Portugal was the envy of Europe, its coffers overflowing with the spoils of empire. But just when Portugal was riding high on its wave of exploration and wealth, disaster struck, literally. In 1755, a massive earthquake, estimated to be one of the most powerful in history, ripped through Lisbon. It was like Mother Nature decided to hit the reset button on Portugal's capital city. The earthquake, and the tsunami and fires that followed, devastated Lisbon, killing tens of thousands and reducing much of the city to rubble. The economic impact was catastrophic. Portugal's commercial center lay in ruins, its port in shambles, its trade disrupted. It was a blow from which the country would struggle to recover. But amid the rubble, a new leader emerged, the Marquis of Pombal, a no-nonsense reformer determined to rebuild Portugal, both literally and figuratively. He spearheaded reconstruction efforts, implemented economic reforms, and tried to drag Portugal into the modern era. While his methods were often, shall we say, forceful, there's no denying that Pombal left his mark on Portugal. Section 5, Missed Industrial Revolution, Portugal's 19th century economic slump. Now, let's talk about the Industrial Revolution, that era of steam engines, factories, and mass production. It was a time of unprecedented economic transformation, but unfortunately for Portugal, it was a bit like that awkward house party they weren't invited to. While other European nations were building factories and embracing new technologies, Portugal remained largely agricultural. Political instability, a lack of investment, and a lingering attachment to its colonial possessions hampered its economic development. It was like Portugal was trying to run a marathon in a pair of espadrilles, charming, but not exactly practical. The 19th century was a time of decline for Portugal. It lost its most valuable colony, Brazil, and its economy stagnated. The gap between Portugal and its more industrialized European neighbors widened, leaving it struggling to catch up. Section 6. Salazar's economic roller coaster ups and downs under the Estado Novo. Fast forward to the 20th century, and Portugal found itself under the thumb of Antonio de Oliveira Salazar, a man who ran the country with an iron fist and a rather impressive mustache. Salazar's Estado Novo regime was all about order, stability, and keeping a tight lid on things, including the economy. On the one hand, Salazar stabilized the currency, balanced the budget, and promoted some industrial development. He built roads, bridges, and dams, modernizing Portugal's infrastructure, but his policies also stifled competition, discouraged foreign investment, and kept wages low. It was a bit like a culinary school that only taught you how to make one dish. Efficient, perhaps, but not very exciting. While Portugal experienced some economic growth under Salazar, it came at a cost. Political repression, censorship, and a lack of freedom characterized his rule. It was clear that Portugal needed a change, a breath of fresh air, a metaphorical shot of espresso to jolt it back to life. Section 7. The Carnation Revolution. A new dawn for Portugal's economy? And change did come in the form of a bloodless revolution, aptly named the Carnation Revolution. In 1974, a group of leftist military officers, fed up with Salazar's regime, seized power. It was a time of great hope and optimism, as Portugal shed the shackles of dictatorship and embraced democracy. But the transition wasn't easy. The economy was in shambles, burdened by high inflation, low productivity, and a lack of competitiveness. The new government faced the daunting task of rebuilding the economy, while also consolidating democracy and integrating Portugal into the European mainstream. It was a bit like trying to juggle chainsaws while riding a unicycle, challenging to say the least. Section 8. Joining the EU. Portugal's economic makeover. One of the most significant events in Portugal's post-revolution history was its accession to the European Economic Community, later the European Union, in 1986. It was like Portugal joined a really exclusive club, complete with access to a massive single market, generous subsidies, and the promise of economic convergence. EU membership brought about a wave of foreign investment, fueled infrastructure projects, and helped modernize Portugal's economy. The country underwent a dramatic transformation, from a largely agricultural backwater to a modern, service-based economy. It was like Portugal traded in its espadrilles for a pair of sleek running shoes, ready to compete on the global stage. Section 9. The Eurozone crisis. From bailout to boom, well, almost. But Portugal's economic journey hasn't been without its bumps in the road. In 2008, the global financial crisis hit, exposing the country's underlying economic weaknesses: high debt, low productivity, and a lack of competitiveness. Portugal, along with other struggling Eurozone countries, found itself caught in the crosshairs of the sovereign debt crisis. In 2011, Portugal was forced to request a bailout from the EU and the International Monetary Fund, a move that came with strict austerity measures and painful reforms. It was a time of economic hardship and social unrest, as the country grappled with spending cuts, tax hikes, and rising unemployment. It was like Portugal's economic unicycle had hit a patch of black ice, a sudden and unpleasant fall from grace. However, Portugal surprised many by implementing tough reforms, regaining competitiveness, and returning to modest growth. It exited the bailout program in 2014 and has since made significant progress in reducing its debt and restoring fiscal sustainability. Section 10. Riding the global roller coaster. Portugal's 21st century economy. Today, Portugal's economy is a mix of the old and the new. Tourism, fueled by the country's stunning beaches, vibrant cities, and delicious food and wine, is a major industry. Manufacturing, particularly in sectors like textiles, footwear, and automobiles, remains significant. And new industries such as renewable energy and information technology are emerging. Portugal has embraced globalization, attracting foreign investment and becoming a hub for international companies. It has also invested heavily in education and innovation, seeking to create a more knowledge-based economy. The country faces challenges such as low wages, an aging population, and bureaucratic hurdles, but it has shown resilience and a capacity for reinvention. Section 11. Looking ahead, Portugal's economic future, challenges and opportunities. So what does the future hold for Portugal's economy? That's the million-euro question. The country faces challenges, such as global economic uncertainty, climate change, and the need to further boost productivity and competitiveness. But it also has opportunities, such as its strategic location, skilled workforce, and growing tourism industry. Portugal's economic journey has been a roller coaster ride, full of ups and downs, twists and turns. But through it all, the Portuguese people have shown a remarkable ability to adapt, innovate, and overcome adversity. They've weathered storms, both literal and figurative, and emerged stronger. And as they navigate the complexities of the 21st century global economy, one thing is certain. Portugal's economic story is far from over. It's a story that continues to be written, one chapter at a time.